Raging Patriot. Well, welcome to KSOK Uncensored. Today, we are focusing on New York. Now, a lot of you do not realize that New York is very near and dear to my heart. Not only was my father born and raised in the Bronx, he could literally hear the games from his apartment building. My husband's from Long Island. I was on vacation in New York City and met him when he was an NYPD police officer. I lived in Queens for 2 years and worked in the Empire State Building. I have family in Yonkers. I have family in Hoboken, New Jersey. I had family in Buffalo. So I've at least been in New York visiting family since the age of, 1, 2 years old. I was there at least every summer visiting. And, to see it go downhill has been really emotional. I want to tell you just a few of my New York stories that I have here. So I'm from Southwest Washington and I'm from out in the country. And so I moved to Queens, Astoria, Queens, which was the Greek area. And I moved there and immediately I'm starting my job in the city. So I didn't really have time to get acclimated. And again, I'm in the Empire State Building, and where I worked was on the first floor and the basement. There were first floor and then the floor below. I was using the restroom on my first day and didn't realize that post 9/11, all of the large buildings have an emergency planning where they have the sirens and the lights flashing. That happened while I was in the bathroom, and I didn't know that that was going to happen. And I came running out of there so quick, probably didn't even wash my hands. And everyone was just acting so normal. And here I thought the entire building was under attack. So that was a rude awakening. The other thing is, on my very first day of work, again, I didn't have any time to get acclimated or do any test runs to my work riding the subway. So I get there and I'm walking around trying to find the Empire State Building. And I asked this girl in the corner if she knew where it was. And she's like, no, sorry. Turns out she definitely did. And she was just being a you know what on purpose to mess with me. And so I called my husband and I said, I don't know, I can't find it. And he's like, look up. How stupid. But I looked up, I'm like, yep, there it is. And so I was able to navigate my way to my office. But New York, what a great place. So I'm so excited to have a real stand-up character on today from Long Island. That's actually where my husband's from, Long Island. And the accent is so familiar to me. But unfortunately, my husband's has been watered down from living here in Portland, Oregon for the past 12, 13 years. And I keep telling him to let it ride, don't water it down. But I guess that just kind of comes with time. But I want to talk a little bit about our guest that we have on today. At the young age of 28, our guest, who goes by Unfiltered Conservative on social media, his name is Steve Rosati. I hope I said that right. He has done so much. So like I said, 28 years old, about a year ago, actually, we both got started in June, July of 20 with our social media platforms. He has built a name for himself, and he has multiple successful social media platforms, a podcast, a merchandise line, but it all came to a screeching halt in January. We're going to be talking a little bit about what happened there, but I want to just say something. Steve knew that something needed to be done. He knew that our country was quickly dying and that he had something to offer the nation, and that is his presence, his passion, and his voice. And he got on the streets with a bullhorn. He's the famous bullhorn guy. He got on the streets, took it to the streets, and he went out and made a difference, and he made a name for himself. Juan, can you play video 1, please?
What he's said on social media is outrageous, despicable, and the sign he's a jackass. his conduct at the Capitol ought to be investigated, and is being investigated. And with that, I'll turn to Phil.
We are investigating the actions in accordance with the CBA. The employee has been relieved of his duties while we conduct this investigation, and that's really all I guess I'm at liberty to say right now while we do this.
Is he relieved with or without pay?
Per the CBA is with pay.
Can I ask, is there anything governing employee conduct, like some kind of code of conduct, regardless of whether there are any criminal charges brought against him relating to the Capitol protest?
There are codes of conduct. That's all part of our investigation.
I would like to go ahead and bring Steve in now. Hello.
Hello there. Here.
You have been through so much in these past few months that most people can't even begin to wrap their minds around how much your life has been changed. Yet you continue to move ahead and you continue to get the word out there. And I just want to say you are so brave, and I look up to you so much. And we got our social media platform started around the same time, but I would always admire the fact that you are out on the streets making a huge impact and getting people charged up in a good way, waking them up. And I'm not quite there yet. And I think it's just been really awesome to watch everything that you have done in that sense. So really honored to have you on today.
Well, it's definitely good to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a couple days now, a couple weeks now, and you're absolutely right. I mean, this is the battle for our lives, and whether people don't want to pay attention to it or not, we are in good versus evil, and no matter what happens, you have to continue to use your voice. You have to continue to use your voice and be active any way you can while being peacefully, never being violent. Hopefully it never goes to that point, and I don't stand for
Right.
that. So hopefully, we can turn things around, and hopefully everybody can start waking up.
Exactly. So here's what I'd like to do, because I know that the topic is very sensitive. I'm just going to be really transparent here. What I would like to do is, and I know a lot of people have tuned in today and they want to hear your story as much as you're able to tell at this point in time. I'd like to turn it to you so you can talk to us a little bit about why there was radio silence coming from your social media channels for 2 months. Whatever you're able to tell us at this point in time would be fantastic.
Oh, sure, no problem. So January 6th, I did attend the peaceful protest in DC. I was not near the violence at all. I was not violent at all. I would never go to violence in any case scenario. So we went to the monument, which is where Trump was speaking. We got there really early, 7:30, 8 in the morning in DC. Left my house around, I'd say midnight or so. Got to there around 5:30 in the morning, and we went right to the monument. And we were there for a couple hours. There was millions of people at the monument. And probably, I would say about an hour and a half, an hour into Trump speaking, a lot of people did end up leaving because a lot of people actually didn't like what Trump was saying. It was just the same nonsense. So we know that, all right, the goal was to go to the monument and to the Capitol. So now we're on our way to the Capitol. We saw Bryson Gray there, which was pretty cool. We saw a couple people. And all of a sudden we're getting to the Capitol, and nothing's barricaded when I got there. And we're just walking and walking. And then all of a sudden, you don't even realize it, flashbangs start going off out of nowhere. And it was kind of crazy. It reminded you of a war zone a little bit, with a lot of noise and seeing a lot of things that I wish I didn't see, that I'm not going to go into detail about. And then sure enough, witnessing the people overtake and pretty much walk up the steps, and people started walking onto the Capitol. And I witnessed it all. I wasn't there at the time of initially doing it at all. I wasn't even near it. And eventually they start letting people up. They start letting people up the stairs onto the Capitol, and everybody was peaceful. And then they even let people inside the building, and I knew that that was a big mistake. Just to make it very clear, I never went inside. I was never under criminal investigation, to my knowledge. Nobody has ever spoken to me. Any type of three-letter government agency has never spoken to me, and I did nothing wrong at the Capitol. And a couple hours later, I left, thinking nothing was going to happen out of this. And then, sure enough, you saw what you saw, and I'm currently dealing with it head on.
Yeah, again, I admire you because you're being put through the ringer right now, like so many conservatives are. I mean, I know banks. So let's just say Bank of America, as we all know, they actually gave account information to the FBI, the CIA, for anybody who had flown to DC and or made purchases in DC around that time. I mean, it's sad to see that the tyranny has made it into people's banks. You know, your bank
Yeah,
statements
actually,
aren't even private.
even donated. Bank of America even donated, what was it, $250 million a year starting in 2016 to Black Lives Matter, $1 billion overall. So, you sign a disclosure that wherever bank you go to, they're not going to release your information, and they did.
Right, right. I didn't realize that they had started back in 2016. I'll be honest, I didn't even know about Black Lives Matter at that point in time.
Yeah, it could have been
Yeah,
18.
yeah, that's wild to me. It really is. You know, the first time it really started impacting me was when I'm here following George Floyd and all of the riots and protests that my husband dealt with. So that's really when I started diving into it a bit more. But yeah, no, that's very disappointing to hear that took place and that people's bank statements were shared. So what I also would like to do is let's back up because you and I were able to connect yesterday for almost an hour and a half, and it just flowed so naturally. And I learned a lot about you. And I feel like we have a very similar passion, objective, and how we got there is very similar. So, and I didn't ask you this yesterday. Are you born and raised on Long Island?
Yep, born and raised here on Long Island. Long
Nice.
Island, for those wondering, it is red where I am in Suffolk County. Once you get to the New York City area, it's not only blue, but it's even dangerous. And that's why a lot of people are moving out of New York City. But besides the point, yes, born and raised here on Long Island.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's my husband's from the same county as you. So that's awesome. You know, it's funny when I first moved to New York City, I was like city, city, city. I wanted to be in the city every weekend. And my husband being a Long Island boy, he was like, "Ugh." And then after like 2 months of that, I couldn't wait to get out of the city and we spent every weekend on the island with my in-laws. And it's just so beautiful out there and relaxing. So now I understand why pretty much all of his family still lives there. They haven't left the
Yeah, Long
island,
Island,
and they have zero
especially,
intentions to.
yeah, Long Island is very nice. Especially the more east Long Island you get, it gets better. So it's a good area, but it's just very
Right.
expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, on that, my father-in-law may be watching, so I'll keep this mild. But when I had first,
Cool.
so one of the weekends we were staying with them right after we had gotten married, I had left, I grew up with, I didn't have a ton of rules and like little rules, like turning the lights off after you leave the bedroom. Like to me, like my parents didn't get on me about little things like that. And so I had left lights on. I would leave them on and I'd leave the bedroom. And my father-in-law one day, he goes, "Hey, do me a favor." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, what's up?" And he's like, "Turn the lights off when you leave the room." And
Yep.
I was so embarrassed. I'm like, "Who do you think you are, man?" But he said, "Long Island's electricity is the highest in the nation," something like that. So he's probably right. But man, I was like, "Wow, welcome to the family."
Yeah, my father was the
But
same way. So I,
it is a very expensive place to live for sure. All right.
yep.
So born and raised on Long Island. About June, July of 2020, that's when you started your social media platforms. And when we were talking yesterday, you were talking about how, initially you just had your personal social media platforms, which is exactly what I was doing on mine. I was getting so mad about what was happening in this nation, and I was posting, and I was like, this is getting nowhere because it's just my friends and family. Most of them are here in a blue state with me. Not everyone agrees with me. And so I felt like my impact was very minimal. And that's when I recorded my first TikTok that went viral. Tell me about how you got into creating a non-personal social media platform.
Yeah, so after, some videos on the personal platform, it wasn't hitting quite like I wanted. So I kind of just thought about what can I do to make a difference? And, I had a friend of mine reach out to me and say, "Hey, you got a nice voice. You got a great voice. It's powerful. You need to go to TikTok." So she showed me some TikTok videos, how it works, the algorithm, etc. And I just started creating videos, putting the hashtags there. And then all of a sudden, I saw a couple thousands of views started happening with no followers. And it started to catch on a little bit. But there was one video that I specifically made back in about July 18th, July 19th of 20. And it was basically saying how Nancy Pelosi is going to fumigate Donald Trump out of the White House, where he will be removed whether he knows it or not, and that the deep state is making their move to remove Trump, and it's absolutely happening. And sure enough, 6 months later, Donald Trump was fumigated from the White House. And then from that point on, it was just use your voice and start telling the truth and start putting it into a perspective for others, because there's so much information, there's so much fake news out there that sometimes too much research can be used against you, where you don't really know what's true and what's not. But I pretty much have a good understanding of what's going on, and using your voice and putting it into a perspective for others, it hit. It hit 2 weeks, 35,000 followers on TikTok, and within 2 weeks I was shadow banned. The next 2 weeks I only got 100, and then
Oh,
went
wow.
back to Instagram. But TikTok is where that's where it started.
Right. Same here. They hit you quick. Wow. That's a huge compliment, though, seriously. As much as it
Very.
stings. I remember the first time I got shadow banned, I felt, honestly, it was depressing. For like the first 24 hours, I felt depressed. And I was, you put your whole self into what you're doing. And we're not getting paid for this. We're not, it's taking time away from family, from friends. And you're
Mhm.
doing it because you believe in the cause. And then to have big tech shut you down like that, especially when you're gaining momentum,
Yeah, well,
it's really disheartening.
it wasn't a surprise at all. When I was shadow banned, I just kept doing my thing. There actually was like a little bit of a loophole with the live channel. I did show up in the FYP on the lives, so that actually kept me going for a little bit longer on TikTok. But I just kept making the videos. I wasn't stopping. I told everybody, listen, the shadow ban's coming to everybody. You got to keep going
Right.
with the video. Don't stop it. Going from tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views, all the way down to 150, 200. I wasn't even showing up
Yeah.
on people's followings, let alone the FYP.
Right.
So if somebody, you have all your friends that you follow that post videos, mine wasn't even showing up for people. And a
Right.
lot of people are like, where'd you go? I was there the whole time, but they shadow banned me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I was a lot of people. I know you got some messages the other day saying, I've been wondering where this guy is. I've been here the whole time, but big tech did their
Right.
job, and they did a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. They sure did. I know. No, I feel your pain. Every channel has me shadow banned at one, to one stage or the other.
TikTok and Twitter.
Instagram's been the nicest. Don't tell
And
them
then
that though. But yeah, no, that's crazy. But here's what I'd like to do. I'd like people to see the video of you. One, if we could play the video where he is in the Bethpage post office, correct, Steve?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Can you give us real quick? I'm sorry, Juan, before we play that video, can you just give us a little backstory on what brought you there?
Sure. So the day, a couple of days after the election, a independent driver for the United States, it was an independent contractor, uh, was hired to drive votes in a 18-wheeler truck that he always used, and he had an affidavit. By the way, he signed an affidavit that this happened, and he
Wow.
drove 280 to 290,000 mail-in ballots with Joe Biden's name on it from Bethpage, New York on Long Island, all the way to Pennsylvania the night of the election to overturn the results in Pennsylvania. And it absolutely happened. He signed an affidavit saying this did happen to me. And his truck, the driver, it was his own personal truck, and they took it from him. So very, very shady.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's wild.
Video,
All
I'm
right, let's
sorry.
play that video.
Sorry to cut you off. Video was the manager who approved to get this guy to Pennsylvania that night.
Wow.
288,000 votes. We want to know if you have answers, sir. You can be a hero for this country, sir. You can be a hero. All you need to do is contact Trump's lawyers. 288,000
Matt,
votes.
you can't answer some simple questions.
288,000 votes, sir.
You're looking guilty.
Any answers?
You're looking guilty as charged right now.
We need people like you to step forward and say that you witnessed massive corruption in your post office, sir. You have anything to say at all, sir? Anything? We know that there was massive corruption in your post office, sir. And you know there was massive corruption. I know this, you know this, sir. And you can be a true hero and a true patriot for this country. Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, Trump's lawyers will take care of you. We need you as a hero, sir. You saw the corruption. We need you, sir. You can be a hero. Sign that affidavit. America will back you. Or you become an enemy of this country, sir, because you saw the corruption. 288,000 votes, sir. Do you know anything about it? That's why you're not talking, sir. You know this is true. You know that this happened. But you can be a hero. You can be a true patriot for this country, sir. All we need you to do is come forward, and you can say, I saw the corruption, and I want to help out this country. Or you want to sell yourself out for a paycheck. The post office is very corrupt. America is a late to tyranny going on. And your post office, sir, played a role in sending out 288,000.
Your choice.
You could be a hero, sir.
It's your choice.
Or you become the enemy of the state.
And you won't be safe no more.
You have chosen to become the enemy of the state, sir. 288,000 votes were sent from your post office, sir. They were sent from your post office, sir. And you are playing a role in committing treason, sir.
Right,
And
keep
America
walking away.
has a life.
Wow, that's maddening. He didn't say a single word. Nothing. He had nothing.
No, that man is 100% guilty. He said nothing. And, a lot of people probably like, oh, you're harassing somebody at work. Well, guess what? Civil disobedience is here. And if it wasn't for that post office, Trump would have won Pennsylvania. And that could have been the start of Trump winning this election. And they completely stole
Right.
it from him. I'll stand. And that man is guilty. He knows exactly what happened. He didn't say a word. And notice how I was peaceful the
Yeah.
entire time. Never call for violence.
Right. No, you didn't. I'm curious where that man is today. Has he been arrested?
Oh, he's-
Has
That was a couple
Well-
days after the election. So he knows what he did. They got away with it.
so he's just totally in the clear. Wow. That is just
totally
so sick.
The manager of the entire building.
Wow. That
Must be
is
nice.
incredibly disheartening. Kudos to you
Correct.
to continuing on with that. That is
Yeah, right.
so incredibly brave. What I'd like to do, you are so famous for your bullhorn. Can we play the other bullhorn video that we have? I actually, like I told you, I went and bought one because of you.
Yeah.
Until the most important election of our lifetime, 94 days until inauguration. The Democrats are on video saying they will contest the election after they lose an electoral landslide to we the people. It is now time that we the people are the loud majority. We are no longer being silent.
I love that. When I think of you, that's what I think of. And
Damn right.
I know I told you last night when I hadn't seen you on for a while, I was like, what happened? What happened to him? And not everyone resonates with you that way. There are some people, this sounds bad, but there's some people that you probably wouldn't realize if they stopped creating for a while, but I remember like going and seeking you out. I'm like, well, he must just be really upset about Trump and, and what happened. So I had no idea what you were going through. I just figured you had fell into this deep depression following the inauguration, to be honest. I mean, I felt like absolutely depressed during the inauguration time and
Yeah,
took a few
that
days to get out of
video.
that funk.
Yeah, sorry. That video was on October 18th. That was out east in Port Jefferson, New York, at a Trump rally 2 weeks before the election. And all the Democrats were on video saying how they were going to contest it. Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden, they all said Trump was going to be removed, whether he knows it or not. And it was just relaying the message that it wasn't about election day, it was about inauguration. That's why I said X amount of days until the election, X amount of days till
Right.
inauguration, because they were going to steal it. They were going to contest it. They kept saying it. It's all about the inauguration. And it's just, I still can't believe they got away with what they did. But
Yeah.
it's truly unbelievable.
It is. It is. And you know, it's so sad because I think until we have voter reform, nothing is ever going to be the way it should again. And
There will never be
and that
there will never be a Republican president again if the number one issue isn't voter fraud.
right? Absolutely. I mean, you saw what Biden said the other day. He's like, I don't even know if it'll be a Republican Party. I mean, that speaks volumes. I don't know if that resonated with everybody, but to me, I was like, okay, yeah,
It also goes to
ten
show you
four.
how
I
arrogant
see
they
it. Right.
They're arrogant.
Absolutely. They're
They
trying
got
to
away with it.
wipe us out.
Oh yeah,
It's so sick. I
sick is
think what
right.
they have planned is something like what China is doing to the Uyghurs. And I'm not being a conspiracy theorist, I'm just being a realist. Like they are wiping out. It is genocide what they are doing to the Uyghurs in China right now. And that is what's going to happen to Christian conservatives. Mark my words, that's what's going to happen. And so
I
what you're doing by pounding the pavement, so important.
Yeah, they are absolutely depopulizing. I mean, you could start with the vaccines and the FEMA camps that they're talking about that Cuomo just brought up today in his briefing. It's all very serious. It's real life. It's not going to go away. You have to attack it head on. It's the only way to defeat evil. And that's why your faith in God and faith in Jesus Christ has to be beyond strong. This is the St. Michael Rosary where you fight for God. And that's why I wear it over my shirt. It does not get tucked in anymore. This is very serious.
I love it. Yeah, no, spot on. You know what I forgot to do again? I forgot to tell the audience that we were going to open up for a Q&A. So please put any questions through that you may have for us. We wanted to have a Q&A at the end for sure. And I know, Steve, you and I had talked about what we were going to wrap it up with, like your really what you stand for and your oh gosh, just like your marching orders for patriots like us out there. And can you take a couple minutes and then just tell everybody the importance of why you're doing what you're doing, why we need more of that.
Correct. All right. So first of all, everything that I've done, everything that I'm doing, and everything that I will do has nothing to do about clout. It has nothing to do about look at me, the attention's on me. Because a lot of people are like that, especially with social media. But me is there needs to be strong men in this world. We do not have enough masculinity going on. And I know that I'm a man's man and I'm going to say it how it is. I'm going to do what I need to do. And that's another reason how we could also empower a woman is if a woman has a strong man on their side, because I truly believe that women want to do more and be more active than men. But the problem is their man or a man just doesn't want to do it because they have excuses. And, a man, I've had conversations with plenty of men where it's like, oh, I wish I could do what you do, but I have a family to take care of. I was like, oh, really? You have a family to take care of? Well, why don't you look at my situation? It's worth every single sacrifice. I don't have any regrets at all. And hopefully there's some men that can come forward and stand up for your country, because you're not going to be able to stand up for your family when the government is coming to your house to take away your guns. Now, just remember, none of this is about clout. I am not a clout chaser. I just knew that we need people to come forward to use their voice and be brave. And that comes with sacrifice. And as you could tell earlier, I am sacrificing, and it's okay with me. And I'm never going to regret anything I'm doing. And there's going to be plenty of more where that came from. So, America, stand up for yourself and be brave, because God doesn't want cowards, and you must fight for the truth and fight for what you believe in.
Absolutely. Thank you. I love that. I love that so much. You know, it's funny, early on, and again, we got started around the same time. Early on, my husband was like, "That's taking a lot of time." I'm like, "Yeah, it is, and it's worth it, and it's not going away." And I think
Yeah,
that honestly, like my husband's very strong. He's definitely the man's man, but he knew at that point, because I'm strong as well, and he knew like, yeah, this is not something, this is non-negotiable. And it's really cool to have his support. He's not helping me with my lighting and everything, but he supports me as far as time is concerned, and that is just so important because you know, right now I tell him, like this morning, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted, I don't want to get out of bed. He's like, it's probably your social media stuff. And I said, yeah, part of it. I'm like, but that's not going away, I'm not stopping. So I'm like, you know,
right.
you can't not fight.
I believe I've
um
had
so
days where I've been exhausted, and I know exactly what you're going through, and I'm telling you, it is worth it, even if you're tired. We don't get paid for this. We just do it because it's
absolutely.
an.
I know. Oh, all right, we have a question. All right, for you, Steve.
I can't even read this,
Oh,
to be honest.
I'll read it. I got you. I got
Oh, I can zoom
2014
in on
vision,
it. That's
baby.
about it. What is Steve hearing
All right,
on
it says,
Cuomo's nursing home murders? Yeah, now I gotta zoom in on it. That's all. I can do it though.
all right.
So, so the nursing homes. Obviously, Governor Cuomo is one of about 5 or 6 governors that put COVID patients into nursing homes. 40% of all the COVID deaths happened in nursing homes, and I think specifically for Cuomo was about 12,000, 14,000 in that range. He is a murderer, 100%. He knows exactly
Yeah,
what he did. But as that's happening, the media doesn't pay any attention to it. They actually glorified him, saying that he was doing the best, but meanwhile, he was doing the worst. He had the most deaths, and and all of a sudden, 8 people, 7 people, 8 people, 9 people have now come forward in a sexual harassment. But notice how that story has completely died because it's to get away from the nursing home scandal. And nothing is going to happen to Cuomo. Nothing will ever happen. The attorney general's report and investigation is going to clear Cuomo. So don't think anything is ever going to happen to these people, because it never does and it never will.
it's so disgusting. Yeah, Cuomo. So there was an article that had come out that he was getting preferential treatment when it came to getting the COVID testing early on, and some of his friends and family, they were getting preferential treatment, including that asshat earlier who called you a jackass. So I'd say he's the jackass that doesn't care about the people. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's
But
unfortunate that when people couldn't see their grandparents, or they weren't allowed to go see them, that it's okay that certain people can get special access to COVID testing to make sure that they're okay, but not you.
right, exactly. All right, what do we have here? My question: why do conservatives always talk about American exceptionalism and yet call half the country evil and whine? Oh, I feel like somebody asked me this not too long ago. Um, hmm. Well, Steve, what do you think on
Well,
that while I gather my thoughts?
really have another problem.
What was that?
So Republicans don't really have a backbone. They don't have the fight in them. They don't have the dog in them.
Right,
So what they do is complain about everything, but they do nothing about it, and that includes
right,
people in the Capitol, the local politicians, and even some social media influencers. Oh, you know, look, if look at the left and look what they burned down buildings, but the right, yeah, it's all true, but you need to take action. It's time to take action. All they
right.
do is whine. They really do. They take no action. It's a big problem.
Right, right. No, I agree. So I think back on like the reason I wanted a minute is because everything that I'm answering, I usually try to put it onto like a personal experience. And I think of even just
Mm.
like my mom, for instance. Wow, I'm sure my family loves that I use them as examples. But my mom, for instance, is a conservative, yet Trump's tweets offended her. She can't believe how how, the left acts, but yet she's not willing to take a stand, and she gets embarrassed like when I say anything loud or when I take my mask off in public if I'm with her. So I just think of like that's a very typical conservative MO, is to be just inwardly disgusted and whiny about things but not take action. So I think that's just been deeply ingrained over the decades, and it's unfortunate, and I feel like we're seeing a lot of people realizing that you can't continue on that way. And I know we have the term rhino for politicians, but I would even challenge that to say that I could call some of my family members rhinos actually, because they're not brave enough to take a stand and actually have their actions match their verbal beliefs. So
Yeah,
that's my two cents on that.
perfect example is Mitt Romney, Republican in name only. He's literally only
Right.
Republican by name, but supports everything Democratic.
All right, Steve, you haven't. Oh, KSOK needs to run. And yeah, okay, so here's the thing. I had thought about running in local politics, and that's not completely out the window. But I will say the thing that is a deterrent for me is the fact that not only you but your whole family gets dragged through the mud, and that does bother me. And that is something that my family has asked me not to do, because they don't, not that we have skeletons in our closet per se, but just that harassment that is ongoing. But
Yep, no,
I
I agree.
may, I may, I may defy them.
Yep, no, I understand, and it is your name, and imagine your name gets out there, and people are calling you and calling your family just because a family member is in the news.
Right, right,
So
right.
I get
I'm sure
what you're saying.
yeah, you get it. I know you do. Um, and I'm not sure who this is for. Are any of your siblings, if y'all have any, are any of them conservative? I have a sister, and she's going to be on next week talking about recovery. And yes, she's a raging conservative patriot as well. But Steve, what about you?
I got two brothers, one older, one younger. Older one is apolitical, and the younger one, who actually lived in New York and moved to South Carolina, didn't care about politics when he was in New York, but once he moved to South Carolina, it's actually big in his life now. And because everybody else around him, that's all they care about. So he
Right.
is now he's now a Republican.
Nice. Apolitical, like that would be very difficult to have around me.
Yeah, not me.
How can you still live where you do? Yeah, I know. This is a question I get all the time. Steve, I'll let you answer this one. I get this one all the time. How do you continue to
Yeah,
live in a blue
no.
state, basically?
Well, the thing is about New York, right? So New York and Long Island, um, everything is very close together. It's kind of like a square where if you miss one exit, there's another exit about a half a mile, and you could circle back right where you came from. So everything's close together. There's not one main road that has everything. There's multiple main roads that have multiple locations of everything. Things are not 20
Yeah.
minutes away. Things are 30 seconds away, sometimes even walking distance away. And there's something about Long Island that is very special, regardless of where we are. And at the end of the day, we are red in our county, which is really important. But at the same time, you know, I get it. It's New York City that is a nightmare and that I'll never go to. And that's why everybody's leaving New York City, but people aren't really leaving Long Island. It's a great place to be.
Right, it really is. And for me, like I tell people, it's all because my husband is in a job with the police department where you can't just uproot your family. I've already had him do that when he left the NYPD for me, and he had to start all over with pension, and he's not interested in doing that again. And so, believe me, we've had multiple conversations, and I also have all my family here too, so it's not as easy as it may seem.
Got a pretty good
All
question
right.
here.
Yeah, take it.
So this question says, do you think soon they'll make a show proof of vaccines to go into malls or grocery stores, etc.? Well, in Israel, you have to have a vaccine passport, which was 2 weeks ago when I went live. I said, look what's going on in Israel. It's going to be hotels, casinos, indoor dining. They're going to make vaccine cards the new normal. Now, 1 week later, April 2nd, starting tomorrow in the state of New York, which I can't believe they rolled it out this quick, you have to have vaccine passports for the state of New York. We are going to be the test run. We are going to comply, and they're going to attempt to roll it out everywhere. And when enough is enough for you and the American people, that's when they'll stop taking action. But the more we comply, the more they're going to keep going. And in the state of New York, everybody wears a mask. Everybody wears it outside. It's pathetic. We have no dog in us.
Wow. So wait, so to drive into New York, you're going to be stopped and you have to have a vaccine card?
To fly. If you want to, I don't know if it's
Oh, to
flying
fly.
out of New York. I know flying into New York, I think you may have to have something. I honestly, I don't
Wow.
know exactly the rules, but all I know is Staples in New York is even laminating your vaccine cards for free. So they're going all in with the New World Order.
Oh my gosh. That's so crazy. The next thing we're going to see is we're going to see on the streets of Las Vegas, instead of selling fake IDs, they're going to be selling fake vaccine cards. You catch me a flight to Las Vegas.
I
But
actually know
I
someone.
mean, that's all right. But that's I thought of that the other day and I was laughing to myself. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be fake vaccine cards. But yeah, it's just disgusting. I mean, I don't even have words anymore, but we're right up
Country
at
is coming on.
1 minute
It's a
left.
big,
What do you have for us? Any last words?
always stand up for what you believe in and keep your faith in God, keep your faith in humanity, and do not put hope in one person. Because at the end of the day,
Mm.
there's no plan. The border is wide open. We are in the middle of the New World Order. And put faith in God and put faith in humanity. Stop putting hope in one person.
Amen. I love it. I appreciate you being on so much. You give me a rush. I'm excited, re-energized, and you are doing great things. And keep it up and keep your head high. You look great. I mean, you've been through so much, and you don't even look. You look great. You don't look like you're stressed or anything. So I'm just proud of you. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
being my
Appreciate
guest, and
that.
thank you for representing New York.
No problem. It has a lot to do with faith in God. And on Instagram, I am on Instagram, Unfiltered Conservative on Instagram.
Good. Yes. Go find him. Everywhere else, shut him down. Oh,
Yep.
thank you so much, Steve. You have a wonderful
Thank you
night.
very much for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm truly moved. He's someone I've looked up to for a long time. And to be able to have him on my show explaining his walk was just really touching. And with that said, you know what? They may be woke, but we're awake. Keith Sanders is on next. Got to hang on for this guy. Looks like he got a fresh haircut too. Yeah. Is that the
No,
Trump fam?
I just brushed it. I changed things up, but I
You
brushed
brushed your
it.
hair today.
I did
Well,
brush
you
my
did
hair today.
something.
It's,
You
you
went
know
to
what
the
I know what it is?
barber.
The angle is different. And let me tell you a quick funny story why. As I was getting ready for my
Okay.
show tonight, I tipped over my monitor and I broke it. With about 20 minutes to go,
Oh,
I broke my monitor and I had to dig out this really old flat screen TV that I think my wife bought in like 2002. And I had to frantically get this thing together. It's considerably bigger than the one I normally use. And now you're looking at me from like the ceiling. And I don't know. Does it look all right? Am I
it
okay?
looks fine.
I think you look
All I
great.
noticed. Well, thanks. I just noticed you looked like you hit up the barber before your show, so you look good.
I think it's that trick that people play where they look up at the camera and it kind of like thins them out. I think I have that going
Oh
on
my
right now.
gosh. That is
Is
why
that
I
working?
literally went and got a puzzle box, and so my screen is like 2 inches higher. So I'm trying to do the thin me out trick right
I
now.
love how honest we are. I appreciate that. One more quick
Yeah.
thing. You may have
Okay.
mentioned this book over my shoulder a couple times, and you gave me a hard time
Hey.
about it. So I went back because I've read that book. And you know what I found? I found a little bookmark that I left in that book because I marked it on the part that had to do with me. And I don't want to hear it anymore. I am strategic. Just so you know, I marked it in
Ooh,
that
that's
book.
my number one.
I am strategic.
Yeah,
You probably
that's
have a little
my
more
one too.
strategery than I do. You're probably a little bit better than I am.
Maybe not.
I think you are. How was your show
Awesome.
tonight?
Well,
I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to see it. It went well?
that's okay. Amazing. I mean, to have somebody on your show that you have been watching and looking up to for 9+ months, really, really touching and humbling. So it went
That's
really
really
well.
cool. I appreciate your approach on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
What state are we going to next week?
Next week. So actually, we're doing a special edition next week, and my sister is going to be my guest, and it's going to
Awesome.
be a segment on recovery. And so she
Okay.
lives in Washington State, which I know I've already done, but she's going to talk about something that's just really important. She's been through it. Our whole family's been through it with her, by proxy, and she's going to
Yep.
we'll have just a really transparent conversation, and
Wow.
I think it'll be great. And who knows? I'm going to try not to cry on that one. I'm not a crier, so I'll just have to have an onion around me or something.
It
But
says a lot.
yeah,
It
so
says a lot about you and your family to be able to be that honest. You're probably going to inspire a lot of people, and I'm really looking forward to that one. I congratulate you for doing that. You and your
thank you
sister.
so much. I appreciate it. Well, you have a
All
great
right.
show today.
I'm going to try. All right. Well,